Our topic this morning is much more of a universal topic. It relates to prayer, tefillah in general. And that is, what is the nature of tefillah? What do we mean by that? We have a term in English, we call it prayer. Prayer is this universal term. Prayer actually is, believe it or not, is a dirty word for Jews. Why? Because prayer comes from the Latin term to beg. And that really has nothing to do with tefillah. You know, we say in Yiddish, davening, or in Hebrew, tefillah. And the question is, especially this time of year that we spend as much time as we do davening, what is the nature of Jewish prayer, of tefillah? What we're going to do this morning is, our agenda is essentially to look at 5 terms that come from Tanakh. 5 terms from Tanakh, how Chazal understood these terms, and it gives us a great insight into that unique methodology of what we call tefillah, that which makes Judaism and our relationship with God so unique. Now, there are a number of questions. First and foremost is, what is tefillah? That's the general question that we're going to try to address. Another question, that's a famous question that's been addressed by the Rishonim for years, and that is, if God is perfect, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu is perfection, then what in the world am I trying to manipulate or to change God? How can you change Hashem if He's perfect? So what is the whole enterprise of prayer? That's the second question. A third question is, and that is this, is that Freud was very critical of people of religion. You know, Sigmund Freud was a great, in terms of his analysis of the human condition and the human psyche, he was brilliant. In terms of a philosopher, he was a very poor philosopher. It happens in general. Sometimes you have someone who's very good in one area, intellectual discipline, but it doesn't make them, by definition, experts in other areas. So what did Freud do? He was very critical of people of religion. He says, you know what they are? He says, essentially, you have a child, and the child wants to get on mommy or daddy's good side, right? They want to butter up mommy or daddy. And if they smile a certain way, if they do a certain thing, if they, whether it's shake their head or clean their room, they know they're going to get a prize, they're going to get a treat, they're going to be in the graces of mother and father. What happens? What happens is, when we're adults, Freud was very critical, he says, we have this notion of the projected father figure image. We replace mommy and daddy with God. And what do? In order that we're healthy, and God forbid we don't get cancer, in order that we have a good parnasa this year, in order that everything should go well with our families, what do? We try to push the right buttons, you know, so it's not as simple as smiling, you know, or looking a certain way or cleaning our room, but we push other buttons to try to get on God's good side. Very critical of people of religion, and that's how he viewed them. Now, the tragedy of Sigmund Freud, obviously, is what? He didn't understand tefillah. He didn't understand the Midas HaRachamim. And speaking of that, that's our fourth question. What is the Midas HaRachamim? Imagine the following. You're a judge, okay? The person in front of you is absolutely guilty. The person in front of you is a menace to society. But you know what? The person in front of you, the last name is so-and-so, or they come from this family, or you know the person's mother, or you knew the person's grandfather. So because the person comes from this family and they were good people in the generations past, you know what? We're not going to use the Midas Hadin. We're not going to use objective, strict judgment. We're going to give them a pass, or we're going to be a little light on the way we treated this person. You and I, observing that judge, would say, that judge has perverted justice. That judge has corrupted justice. So how can it be that we, obviously the Midas HaRachamim doesn't mean the words attribute of mercy, right? Really, we deserve X, Y, and Z. But because we're the Bnei Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and because we're the Jewish people, you know, God should take a different approach, and He should forgive us and give us a pass. I mean, again, if we have a sense of objective justice, of what's fair, of equity, that's a perversion of equity. That's a perversion of what's fair. So how does the Midas HaRachamim work? Just to review, what is tefillah? That's going to be our primary agenda. Let's define what is tefillah. And by doing that, we're going to answer the other questions. How can you change God if God is perfection? Number one. Number two is, what is our notion of prayer? Is it just a projected father figure image that we're trying to get on Big Daddy in the sky's, you know, good graces? That's the next question. And the final question, of course, is, what is the Midas HaRachamim? How can you say there's such a thing as an attribute of mercy? What does that mean? Isn't that a perversion of justice? Isn't that a perversion of all equity and all fairness? So those are our questions. What are we going to do this morning? we're going to define 5 terms. For those on the web, we apologize that the sources did not come across on the web. Don't worry, because there's not a significant number of sources. And if you email rrs@ou.org, Ron Sam, rrs@ou.org, there actually are 2 sources we're going to look at, a Gemara in Brachos and a Mishnah in Brachos. And it's something you can have for posterity's sake. For the shir, you won't need it, those who are at home on the web. What are the 5 terms we're going to analyze? Number 1, tefillah. What does tefillah mean? Number 2, amida. What does amida mean? Number 3, sicha. What does sicha mean? Number 4, pigia. What does pigia mean? And number 5, techina, from Ve'et Chanan, right? Pigia is vayifga b'makom Yaakov's tefillah. What does that mean? And what is techina, from the word Ve'et Chanan, Moshe's tefillah? These are 5 terms in Tanakh, 4 from the Chumash, 1 that's used in Sefer Tehillim as well. And what we're going to do is just try to define those 5 terms. If we can define the 5 terms that Hashem gave us, they will give us an insight. They will give us the ability to explain the 4 questions. Okay. Number 1. The easiest term to define is tefillah. Why is it the easiest term? Because it's famous. Because we've all heard this before. First of all, lehit palel is a reflexive. It means I'm doing something to myself. Whenever you have what's called hitpa'el, the reflexive tense in Ivrit, in Hebrew, it means you're doing something back at yourself. So what is pilel? We have the verse in Tehillim about Pinchas. Pilel means to judge or to analyze. What's lehitpalel? To judge myself, to analyze myself. Tefillah is not prayer. Prayer from the Latin word to beg. What do we do when we daven? We're not these passive beggars, but what? We're very active, we're very engaged, we're analyzing and judging ourselves. To use an example, I want health. What am I going to do with health? I'm not going to pray for the health of Osama bin Laden, right? There's no value in him being healthy, so he should have many gazunta years of taking innocent lives and wreaking havoc on the world economy and on humanity and decency. So if I'm going to pray for someone that they should be healthy, why? Is health an end in itself? Oh, if you have your health, you have everything, right? How many times have we heard that? What's the purpose of health? So, Rifa'enu Hashem v'nei rafei, Hoshi'enu v'niva sheya. The purpose of health is what? That ultimately it will lead to our perfection, our spiritual perfection. We don't just ask for refuah. We ask for Rifa'enu Hashem v'nei rafei, God heal us, in order that what? Hoshi'enu v'niva sheya. That we can use health, which means a strong, healthy body, which means a strong, healthy mind, which means an energy where we can engage for hours and hours of each and every day doing what? Making our families, our community, the world a better place. So what are we doing? We're judging or analyzing ourselves. What are our needs? Why would we want these needs? What are we going to do with these needs? I'll give you an example. I want $10 million. So I say, you know why, Hashem? Because if I have $10 million, I'm going to help this yeshiva that's doing terribly financially. I'm going to help this institution. I'm going to support NCSY. I'm going to be a supporter of Yachad. Well, you know what? So why do I have to have the $10 million? If that's true, Hashem should facilitate that Yachad gets millions of dollars, at NCSY, that this yeshiva, that yeshiva gets the money. Right? Why does it have to be me? What is it? Something about my ego? Oh, I should get the honor. I should get the glory. Everyone should look at me because I'm giving the money. So it's not really that I need $10 million. What is it that I really want? You know, again, it's an analysis. What are my priorities in life? If Hashem gives me the wealth that I can pay my bills and that I can breathe at the end of the day, if Hashem gives me the health, what am I going to do with that health? What am I going to do with that wealth? These are the kind of things that's tefillah. We're standing before God. It's always lifnei Hashem. It's before God. And we're looking very seriously about who we are, what are our needs as opposed to our wants, what are our values, why do we want them, why do we need them, what are we going to do with them? And it's not a very simple thing. Okay. Hashem's going to give me relationships. What am I going to do with these relationships? Am I going to manipulate and play these people and get them, ingratiate myself with them? What am I going to do for them? If I have a relationship, I can tell the world that so-and-so is my friend and that I hobnob with this one and that one. What am I going to do with that relationship? What can I do for them? Why do I want that relationship?